What's up, guys? Welcome to the next part of my upgrade series. In this part I'm going to be setting up the motherboard. Let's get started. Alright, so I was going to do like a full unboxing of this thing, but I ended up doing a quick check on YouTube, and sure enough, just like a day or so ago, Newegg actually did a really nice overview of what's included on this board. So I'll link it somewhere on here so that you can check that out. They're pros, so they know what they're talking about. But let me at least show you quickly what's inside. It's a Gigabyte Z77X UD3H and newer Z77 chipset. Supports Ivy Bridge and as well as the older Sandy Bridge processors. So inside the box we have an SLI connector, a couple of pairs of SATA cables. I believe these are older generation SATA SATA 2, so 3 gig a second, and I think these black ones are the SATA 3 or 6 gig a second. And what's nice about these guys is they have the little metal clips up here, so you get a nice connection to your SATA drives. I/O shield. This is pretty cool because it's black and labeled, which is pretty nice. You'd also notice that on the back here that there is, you know, some of the other kind of I/O shields have these little metal tabs or brackets, but this one actually has like a little piece of foil with some foam there, which is pretty nice. And standard user's manual, which is important to have. Keep that handy. Utility DVD, which has all your drivers and stuff, and I guess another install just in different languages. Install guide, I mean. And there's also case badge, and then the motherboard underneath there. One thing I always see in unboxing videos for motherboards is they say get rid of this, and I'll make the same comment I made before in my other motherboard unboxing for my build. Hang on to this, because if you don't have a second computer handy and your operating system doesn't recognize your network driver, you're going to need this to do the install. So don't chuck it, hang on to it, at least for that. Alright, so I've got the motherboard out and on top of the box that it came in. You'll notice that it's not sitting on the anti-static bag that it came in. I caught a lot of flack in my last build for doing that, so I wanted to avoid any kind of yelling, so I didn't do that this time. The Newegg unboxing video is actually very complete and actually very good about an overview of the board. But let me show you a couple things that I liked about it. First off, there's a on-off switch here, which is really nice. I like to see that. There's a 7-segment display here, which will show you like boot codes and error codes, and then you can you know, line that up against your manual and see what's going on. So those two things are good for debugging purposes. There are 4 fan headers on the board. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then this header right here is for your CPU cooler. The motherboard is like a matte black, which I think actually looks very slick. And there's a SATA connector right here on the board, and I originally thought I was going to use this, but it was pretty cheap to just get a regular solid state drive versus an SATA drive that would plug in here. But you know, it's still kind of nice to have there if you wanted to use that. And let me turn this around so I can show you the I/O on the back here. So you have legacy PS2 plug for if you have an older style keyboard or mouse that you care to use. There are 6 USB 3.0 plugs in the back, a couple of eSATA ports, gigabit Intel LAN, 7.1 surround sound, then you have VGA, DVI, DisplayPort, and this is HDMI, if I can get this off, and your optical audio out as well. And overall, I just think it's pretty nice looking board. It's an ATX form factor. Will support Crossfire or SLI if you care to do so, and you do have a legacy PCI slot on the board as well. So if you have some funny hardware that still needs the older style kind of plug there, you'll be okay. Alright, so for memory I decided to go with 8 gigs of DDR3 memory, 1600 speed. These are G.Skill Sniper series memory. And let me take this out so you can see what the memory looks like. Alright, so here's what the memory looks like. Black PCB, black heat spreader, and you can make out the shape of a sniper gun, which is why I suppose G.Skill calls it their sniper memory. There you go. Alright, so here's the processor. It's a Sandy Bridge Core i3-2120 LGA 1155 socket. This is a dual core processor with hyper-threading. For my application, for this upgrade, I think this is going to be just fine. 3.3 gigahertz, 3 meg cache. And let me show you really quick what's inside the box. Documentation, a little sticker which I won't use. Here's the stock fan, which we're actually going to use in this build, because this processor is not going to be overclocked, because it really can't be. Pre-applied thermal paste right on there, and the actual chip, which is right here, and then that'll fit right in our motherboard. Alright, you're not seeing double. This is the stock cooler that I just showed you. This is the stock cooler that came with my i5-2500K that I didn't use. They both look the same, but the cooler that came with the i5 is significantly heavier than the i3, which makes sense because the i5 would probably put out a little bit more heat because that's a quad core versus the dual core, which the i3 is. And if I flip these over, and let me take the plastic off so there's no glare, you'll notice that there is a piece of copper right here on the i5, and this copper actually goes up through the core of the heatsink here, and it's tough to see, but that extra copper is going to help with some heat transfer, whereas the cooler for the i3 doesn't have that. And you'll also notice that the aluminum here is a lot more dense than the heat spreaders here for the i3. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the i5 cooler in this build to keep things cooler. And I think this is a little bit better than this guy, so I have it, so I'll make use of it. Okay, so let me go ahead and put the processor, the cooler, and the memory on the board, and then I'll show you what that looks like when we're done. You know what sucks? These stock CPU coolers from Intel. These plastic pieces are just a piece of junk, and I'm kicking myself for even considering using this piece of crap. Tried for a little bit to get this installed on this motherboard. You can see the heatsink, the thermal paste residue still on the processor, but this is just a pain. So I'm going to have to do something about that.